Welcome to the Bleeding Burgundy Podcast. I am your host, Jesse Martin. I am here with Keith Gray, my awesome co-host, who is joining me for the second show. And we have a special guest for y'all today. Andy Burrows, all the way from across the pond, is joining us for a bar talk. As Keith put it, we're just gonna sit around the table and just shoot the shit, man. Andy, how you doing, buddy?
I am good, Jesse. It's an absolute honor to come on here and chat some football. And every time I get to have some beef with Keith live, face to face, via Zoom, I am never, ever turning down that. After the One Division comments, I'm never turning down this opportunity. So I appreciate it, sir. Thank you for inviting me.
Andy's busted out the boxing gloves already. I love it, man. What's going on, Keith?
Listen, I'm all for it. You know, one of the things that, I've enjoyed about doing this so far is, and Andy knows, back in the day on Twitter, I used to bust his chops for being a rah-rah fan, him and Maurice and some of these other guys. And, they graciously, chose not to argue with me. They just, said, we understand that this guy's an idiot, and I'm fine with that. But honestly, this is going to sound like a little love fest, man. I couldn't have been happier to continue to get to know Andy, get to know Maurice, especially with throwing out my beautiful take of WandaVision. It kind of opened the door a little bit for Maurice to, clap back at me. And, man, for years I've been, calling you guys rah-rah fans. So I'm glad that you've gotten to know me, given me the opportunity to, be on your show and really kind of ignite this podcast passion that, I've always had. I just have never done until Jesse reached out to me. And I appreciate it, man. And I appreciate the back and forth and the fun. This has definitely been amazing. And, what a lot of folks out there don't know, if you're listening to this episode, this is kind of one of our test episodes, really. I got my mic going and we're just, Jesse and I were just learning how to do this, and we have guys like Kyle, guys like Andy that are kind of just, leading us the way. So, I just wanted to start off with a little love fest at first before you start bashing me.
Yeah, we've done loving. When's the bashing? That sounds like a Saturday night out, but
we'll get there.
I will say, Keith, it doesn't sound like you're talking through a coffee can anymore.
Doesn't sound like you're locked in a dungeon tied up with a Taliban.
Listen, when I cuss you guys out, it's going to be in HD now, fellas.
All right, so let's start. Speaking of WandaVision, well, let's get on that topic just for a bit before we move on to football talk. Okay, I know Andy's ready to rock and roll on this. Now, I even started watching the show. I've been meaning to get to it. I'm 5 episodes in. I did fall asleep earlier today, not meaning to, but I was trying to watch the whole damn thing today, but I didn't get a chance to. Andy, from what the comments that Keith said last week's episode, give me your take on what you think of the show so far.
I said to you guys, I've been going backwards and forwards on Twitter. I'm starting the show this weekend, but it's Marvel. It's not going to be terrible. They don't do terrible. It might start off slow. You've got to look at Endgame. The first hour sent me to sleep, but it's going to get good. It's Marvel. They don't screw things up. It's going to be amazing, and it's going to lead somewhere. So it's going to be a patience game. Stick with it. I think from like Jesse, I've been following you on Twitter today. You said it's very much a stick with it. And I've seen everyone who's watched I think there's 1 episode left next Friday. I've seen everyone like, oh my God, it's a slow burner, but it's what Marvel do. They tease you. They're like the pretty girl at the bar. They tease you in, and then, it's going to get good. So I think, when I heard Keith on last week's episode, and when I heard him on Twitter bashing WandaVision, we spent a good 15 minutes nearly on Keith on our podcast this week. I said to Maurice before we started recording, and I said, I'm not letting this bastard get away with this. I've got a microphone in front of me. He's getting it.
Well, listen. First of all, we don't need to get into the Cam Newton talk, but you had me rolling the minute you said You told that man Al Galdi that I'm sitting there in my Cam Newton jersey.
I spit out my drink when I heard you say that. It was fucking hilarious.
So what folks who maybe didn't listen to the last episode was I had a pretty trash take against WandaVision. Listen, I won't get into my take, but basically what I said is if you have to watch 4 to 5 episodes to even understand and get into what's going on, that the show is trash. Maybe instead of saying the show is trash, maybe I should have just said, this ain't for me. I guess, when we're on Twitter and we're reading, all the heat that people are creating for, these shows and saying how good they are, I come in with a different take, but as you guys know, I don't think before I speak. And when I don't necessarily understand the background to something, I'm learning as I'm continuing to watch this awful show that you really need to know some background information in order to understand the purpose of WandaVision and then the purpose of what it's going to do going forward. So I completely get, where Andy's coming from, where Maurice is coming from. Maurice accused me to be smoking some drugs. Apparently, that's how into WandaVision he's in. So
Maurice is Marvel. He's die hard.
I will agree with you 100% though, Andy. I will agree that Marvel doesn't put out garbage. So truthfully, by all means, you're still able to bash me. This is not going to be a show for me. It'll be something that I watch to maybe try to keep up with.
Where does it carry on from, Jesse? Does it carry on after Endgame?
Yes.
Is that where it starts? Yeah, because
I haven't watched. I'm going
to watch it tonight. I'm going to watch the first 2 episodes.
I'm hearing Captain America: Civil War is a part of it too.
Yeah, that's where
to me that's cool already.
That it's Civil War, and I think Age of Ultron. You need to know what's going on in those because Wanda and Vision, they that's where they come from. Is those 2 movies.
And that's the part where I was lost because I don't think I've seen those, to be honest.
That's why. There you go.
Back. Hey, you got Disney Plus. Go and watch it, man. I'm actually. It's been years since I've seen the movies. I watched Endgame last night just because I wanted to.
Civil War is one of the best movies.
Be up to date. I saw Endgame in the theater, but I like watching those movies over and over again because they're always. There's good stuff right there,
of course.
But just to make sure that I was up to date, but I didn't realize that I probably should have watched Civil War and Age of Ultron before I watched this, just to tap into the memory bank of what exactly is going on in those shows. All right, I think we spent enough time on Marvel. I'm sure after we've all watched the full season of WandaVision, we can rehash this conversation and see where it goes. My point is, it started off slow, but it gets good. It definitely does. Where I'm at right now, I'm ready to see the rest of it. So let's move on. There's not really much going on. It's been kind of a quiet week other than the Alex Smith comments. Keith, you want to touch on? You got anything to say about Alex in his comments?
We're talking about the article with GQ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't want to get too deep in this. I know that we kicked this like a dead horse too. So there's 2 ways that you can actually look at this, and I'm interested to hear your guys' take after I'm done with it. But there's 2 different reactions. The initial reaction that I had when I read it was, "Ooh, he's throwing knives," right? And then there's the next day reaction. And the next day reaction is, well, maybe he's not throwing knives. Maybe he's just speaking truth. Maybe he's just trying to he's playing the game. He's trying to let teams know that he's not finished, that he's not done. So I'll start with the emotional reaction, right? I'll break this down. The emotional reaction was, man, what are you doing? Like, why are you dragging this team down? What this team has been through the past couple of years since you've been here, where the direction that they're heading now with all these hires that they've made. And here you are joining in on a continued circus show of things that we're trying to cancel. We're trying to cancel the circus show. And my thing is this: if players are going to come out and they are going to speak in a negative manner about a team, I'm fine with that. I like the honesty. I appreciate the honesty, but I don't like the indirectness behind it. If you're going to say they don't want me, they this, they that, and it's in a negative connotation, put out who they is. Let's get to the bottom of this, because what that's going to do is put they under pressure to come out and speak on this issue, and then, put it at hand. Now, folks are like, well, I think it's obvious, who they is. It's Ron and the coaching staff. Maybe it wasn't Ron. Maybe it was just someone else on the coaching staff. But his indirect comment basically made it go against the entire coaching staff. And that's negativity that we kind of don't need, especially when we left, the end of this season and he left with a heroic story, Yeah. So to me, I'm looking at this as, wow, you basically trashed your heroic story. With that, then I take, and you look at the, logical side of this, right? The next day reaction is, what was his end game? And I questioned that last time we talked about this. And what was the end game? And when you really read and break down what it is, his end game, really, to me, it just looked like he was speaking the truth, but he was also letting folks know that he wants to go somewhere else. He wants to try to play again. His career is not over. He didn't work this hard to come back just to be pushed on the depth chart. Now, whether we feel that, he's going to be a QB1 on another team, that's a whole different topic. But I think that that's the way that he felt. So, I think we just have to be careful too, because those things were quoted. But, when you read the entire article, reading and then hearing from someone's voice, You're going to get two different possibilities.
And it's known that the writer, the reporter, is not a sports writer. He Correct. Had to be edited multiple times, talking about certain things that had nothing to do with football. So, Andy, what do you think about the whole situation?
I just wondered why. I think it's not an Alex Smith kind of thing to do. Mm-hmm. You might expect it of certain players within the league. I mean, even in Washington, I wouldn't expect it of many of our players. I don't think Ron Rivera gives off that vibe that he'd want his players to do this. So to see Alex Smith do it, I was shocked and taken back. He clearly wants, like Keith said, he clearly wants to play in this. You don't come back like he has and not want to play for one more season, two more seasons, whatever he wants to play. But I've made this point on our podcast. I was on the Redskins Addicts today. I said to them, realistically, where is he going to go and play as a QB1? You don't get to the point in his career where he is, and you're not going to want to be a backup. You're not going to want to maybe play a few snaps, or maybe when someone gets injured. So it all comes back to why he's done this. And Keith's right. When he says he puts a lot of pressure on a Ron Rivera or a Jason Wright, whoever does a next interview. They're going to be like, oh, did you see Alex Smith's interview? He mentioned they. We all know that they is Ron Rivera. We're not stupid. Ron Rivera, basically, before Jason got here, before Julie, before all these GMs got appointed, Ron Rivera was the Washington football team. So right. They is Ron Rivera. So he's now put him in that kind of position when he next comes to a podium or on a Zoom call or whatever it is. That will be one of the first questions they ask him, because by the time he does that, Alex Smith probably isn't going to be on this team. So Ron could maybe be on the side of, it's happened, he's not on his team now, bloody, the party line. But it's put him in a position now that he probably doesn't want to be in. He wants to talk football. He wants to talk about the Washington football team progressing. And it was very un-Alex Smith-like. So yeah, I'm kind of with Keith. I wish he had said, hey, if you're going to do this kind of article, have the balls to say who they are, because we're not stupid. We know they is Ron Rivera. We're not silly. We know he basically ran this franchise on his own until he got help near the end of the season. So yeah, I'm kind of
I don't think that the true story, really has been told either within the article. I think that we're just looking at quotes and we're always going to point out the negative before we will, the positive. I think that, the whole story needs to be told. I mean, honestly, this was not Ron Rivera's guy, when he was coming in.
No one thought he was going to play though, Keith. No one did. Jesse,
nope.
Ron Rivera probably standing there during the season thinking, I'm planning for this guy not to be here. And let's be honest,
Absolutely.
we all were. None of us thought he was going to be on a football field. So when he's come to Ron Rivera and gone, I'm ready, he's probably like, whoa, what?
Yeah, right. I don't think Alex even thought that this was going to happen.
Yeah, 100%.
If Haskins wasn't trash, okay,
this
playing like
a conversation.
No way Alex Smith
if Kyle Allen didn't get hurt, no way Alex would have seen the field.
He wouldn't.
Because coaches did not want to be responsible. I mean, again, I said this before, but
and that's fair enough. That's fair.
Right.
It's you can't blame them for that. I know Michael.
And that's why a coach ain't going to take a chance on him now, because they're like, I do not want to be responsible for this guy ruining his life.
Do you see the hell that Shanahan gets for the RG3 situation? Do you think Ron Rivera wants to be attached to an Alex Smith fiasco? The guy had 17 surgeries. No one thought that he was going to come back. He came back, and it's a great story. But, looking at the depth chart, we had so many issues at QB, and it was obvious that, Alex could come back and play, but he couldn't, keep his health 100% while he was playing. Yeah. And yet he was put out there because we really didn't, I don't think the coaching staff had a choice, at one point, but to put him out there. And we're thankful, for a service. I mean, the guy came back and got us some wins, and, we couldn't say that would happen with Haskins or Allen, but we were in a quarterback bad situation. And, so it got to the point where there was no choice but to put him out on the field. And I'm sorry, but I guarantee you that first game back, everyone was clenching their fucking butt cheeks, praying to God that this guy doesn't get hurt and that they're responsible, because, those articles the next day, the media would have ate that alive. Right. But instead, nothing bad happens. So then what happens is it turns into a heroic story. And, you can't blame Ron for having that mindset. And at the same time, this wasn't his guy to begin with. He basically inherited Alex Smith in the back half of that recovery, right? And so the ideal scenario, I'm sure when he took the job as a coach, the ideal scenario was, well, Alex is still here. He's still getting paid, right? But he could be a good mentor to the younger guys, which is why they handed the keys to Haskins, because you had to hand the keys to Haskins. Go ahead, Andy.
No, sorry. The only thing do you think though, Keith, obviously it'd be interesting to get your guys' take. Whenever a new coach comes into a team, no one's their guy.
Right.
I mean,
it's so hard. Yeah. But I agree with what you say, though. Obviously, you had Haskins. Haskins was Dan Snyder's guy. We all know that. But everyone, obviously, we can maybe get into this later. But everyone's saying, well, why didn't he just bring Cam? If you want Cam Newton or not, that's a whole other argument. But everyone's saying, why didn't he bring Cam Newton in? Well,
easy.
He's not going to walk into a job in January and piss Dan Snyder off in the first week.
Well, 100%.
Haskins is out, Cam's in. He's never going to do that. So no one. No one apart. Well, okay, Chase Young got drafted, but if you look at most of our team, none of them were his guys.
No,
for two reasons,
and that's why he didn't want to give anybody contracts.
Right.
But that's Trent Williams, Dunbar. That's why they weren't his guys at that point. Yet, right.
That's what annoys me when JP Finley and all that lot come out and go, well, he could have drafted Cam Newton last year. No, you're not going to come into a job in January and annoy the owner within the first month and go, your guy's gone.
Well, and we know that there was some ties between Snyder and Haskins to begin with. So you're not ruffling those feathers, right?
No chance.
So that's issue number one. Also, you don't want that bad media press coming out. Oh, here it goes. The Carolina Washingtons, the Carolina football teamers, because that's what would end up happening. And plus Ron Rivera also knew that Cam Newton was on a 1-year deal with New England. So it wasn't a pressing need, but it did provide an opportunity to truly see what Haskins had, because we all felt that Haskins wasn't getting a fair shake beforehand, And what's interesting is if you go back to the what was it, the podcast, I think it was Kevin Sheehan interviewing Jay Gruden.
Yeah.
Right. No, and to answer your question, Andy, no coach wants those quarterbacks. Jay Gruden, which I kind of sort of respect a little bit now, in the sense that at least he's telling the truth now. He didn't want Robert Griffin. He didn't want Robert Griffin from the start. He told Dan, yeah, I'll work with him. Because, of course, the guy was trying to get a job. And that's what I was saying the day that guy was hired, was this is either going to work or it's going to go horribly wrong. And I foresee it to go horribly wrong. You don't put your potential starting quarterback in a preseason game and not have your blindside starting tackle in that game. And when Griffin got hurt, what Gruden did was expose that this guy cannot stay healthy, right? Moving on from RG3 now, but there's a comparison. So yeah, to answer your question, these coaches want their own guy. And here's why. Ron knows that a typical decent lifespan for a coach is the 5-year plan. Mm-hmm. That's if you're mediocre, if you're 7-9, 8-8, 7-9, or you're continuing to show some type of progress within the team, right? Chances are you're going to keep your job. Within year 4, you're on the hot seat now at this point. And guess what? Within those 5 years, you better have your quarterback. Yeah. So Alex Smith, going back to that now, Alex Smith, I think, knew he wasn't going to be a starting quarterback with the Washington football teamers, the footballers, because we had already given our, fuck that name, by the way. Anyways, he knew when we went after Matt Stafford, we played our hand. So whether he was told that he wasn't going to, be on the team anymore, which I don't think has happened, because I think if that was the case, his agent would have come out and said something already.
I mean, he was supposedly still contemplating retirement or not. He even said it at the end of the year.
If he retires, we're screwed.
Sure. Right. Which I don't think is going to, well, now you don't know, because you don't really know what his true mindset is. But, you have that scenario, and, Washington now plays their hand at saying, oh, we need a quarterback. Because I guarantee you all this quarterback talk that we've been doing, where we've been kicking these dead horses every single day about a quarterback, would have never have happened if we hadn't have known that they went after Matt Stafford. Right. Because there was a lot of people before that were actually on the Heineke bandwagon. Right. In fact, your podcast, Andy, I think I heard the term, Heineke mania. I know Mitch Titchler mentioned it on us. Like, fans were okay with this, right? Until they're like, oh, they're legit going to go after a guy. Now what you've done is you open the door for everyone to go wild and determine who's going to be that guy. One thing is for sure, Alex knows he's not. So now Alex has to figure out, well, I worked my ass off to get back on the field. After 17 surgeries, I'm not done. I'm not ready to be done. So I'm going to say what I say about this team, and I'm going to put it out there that I can still play. And that's kind of the way that I see this article. And I'm hoping that that's the case. But again, I could be in la la world, Well, you don't say things that's going to hurt your career, is what I'm trying to say. And that's why I'm thinking Alex is a smart guy. He knows better. He's not going to damage himself in an article for nothing. Is my
he must know he's not going to be a starter anywhere.
That's exactly what I was going to say. He can't.
You think? I don't know.
Where's he going to be a starter? You tell me where he's going to be a starter.
I mean, I agree with you, but you don't know what's in his mind. And I think in his mind, he's a starter. He's a QB1.
Yeah, but in my mind, I'm a Jedi, but I'm not.
Oh, man.
People ask me my religion. On my set, we had a census form over here in the UK. I wrote Jedi. I'm not an actual Jedi. I want to be, but I'm not a Jedi.
Well, that's interesting, because I'm a Sith.
So, well, that's why me and you go back and forth.
Right. Star Wars is my favorite, and
that's mine. Yeah, that's a whole different podcast.
Darth Vader and Kylo Ren have always been my favorite, and I knew growing up liking Darth Vader, I was going to be this kind of guy.
Yeah, this explains a lot. This is like counseling now. This is
I'm gonna make one more point on
Sure.
Alex Smith. You know what he's gone through is nothing short of amazing. He had quickly become, after that Project 11 documentary came out, he quickly became my favorite player in the NFL, and I think a lot of other people would agree with that sentiment.
Yep.
Y'all see that leg though? I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. When it had that when it had that like black stuff all over it, the first thing that came to mind to me was that was a turkey leg from Six Flags.
Turkey leg from Six Flags.
Y'all ever seen those?
All right. I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. All right.
Sorry.
I commend him for everything that he's done. Yes, he went 5-1 for us this year, but if he honestly and objectively went back and looked at his tape, you can't tell me that he's a starter in this NFL. Yes, he played well during times, but times he didn't play that great, and this defense bailed him out. That's just the fact of the matter, you know?
Yeah.
He'd be a great mentor. I see him working out in Jacksonville, going back with Urban Meyer, mentoring Trevor Lawrence, and call it a career after that. I do not see him starting anywhere for any team unless there's an injury in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, plain and simple.
100%.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's move on from the quarterback talk. We've been talking quarterbacks ad nauseum. I didn't even really want to spend this much time with it. I want to get your guys' dream scenarios during our this free agency and draft period coming up. Andy, I want to start with you. What is your dream scenario?
I've spoke about this a few times now, and a lot of Washington fans, I think if we want to get better, quarterback talk aside, our O-line and our wide receiving core have to get better. We've already got the great foundations for a defense there already. That needs a little bit of tinkering here and there. Nothing major though. And if you look at past Washington teams, it needs some major work. We need to, Terry, we've all said, Terry, whoever you bring in at quarterback, you could put me and Keith back there. You're still going to need weapons to throw at. It doesn't matter who you've got. Terry McLaurin is going to get double covered every game next season. They know he is our main threat. So you need to get another. I was lucky enough to have Kelvin Harmon on our team, on our podcast last week. Do not sleep on podcast. Do not sleep on that guy.
I've been saying that since he's been drafted.
Yeah, do not sleep on that guy. So that's like getting a brand new player.
Yeah, I put out a tweet the other day. I'm really intrigued of what he's going to do. See, he got hurt very, very early, like basically right after the season ended last year. Okay. And I think Tyler put out a tweet today. It usually takes 2 years, the second year of a comeback when you have a knee injury like that. But since he got hurt so early in the off season, it's almost been 2 years by the time.
And he's been busting his ass. When we spoke to him, he had just come out of he's like, I spoke to him before we started recording. He's like, I have been busting my ass. He says, I'm not getting to the NFL and giving it up. So do not sleep on this guy. I think he's going to be a whole new player.
I think he's going to be our wide receiver 3. Absolutely.
Yeah. So a fun fact, and I think I mentioned this to you after I knew that he was on your show. He's actually one of my sleepers of folks that I really want to truly see succeed.
Yeah.
His high school was actually right around the corner from where I live.
Oh, okay.
He played for the Palmyra Panthers. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I attended the games and knew, this kid was going to be a star or anything like that by any means, but just think that that's pretty cool that there's that little connection. So you always want to, root for those, hometown guys. I keep putting it out there trying to bait him go Palmyra Panthers, but he hasn't bit yet, on Twitter and said anything. So, just a lot of folks, they focus on these guys' careers from college and on, but just thought it was pretty cool that he was actually a homegrown. I don't think he's told anyone, but he was an Eagles fan, by the way.
His dad's on my podcast.
Done with him.
His dad's an Eagles. It's a lot of his family. I said to him, "What was one of your best moments?" He said, "Playing against the Philadelphia Eagles, knowing that all my family was sitting in the stand being Eagles fans, and he had the Redskins."
Cool.
Yeah, he said, "I had the Redskins burgundy and gold on." He said that was one of his favorite moments. Knowing He was playing against his whole family.
Andy, did he discuss, like, because obviously we know that he's at the wide receiver position, and I've listened to your podcast, right? So, I know the answer to this, but, I want to, for other folks that maybe have, didn't get an opportunity to listen to the show.
You mean there's people that haven't listened to my show?
I'm not assuming.
I'm done.
For the folks that maybe, didn't listen, did he discuss, like, him doing any types of, return fielding, returning kicks, returning punts, that type of, stuff? Because I know that was questionable when he was drafted as something that he could potentially do.
I think he'd be open to it. I mean, we spoke a little bit before, and after I've been going backwards in social media with him. I think the main thing for him now, he just wants to contribute to this team.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seems like the type of player that would do anything. And I think, that Ron would ask
if Ron Rivera said to him, "You're returning a punt," yes, I think he'd be another Morgan Moses. You ask him, he'll do something. He's that kind of. I got that impression from him that he just loves playing football.
Yeah, because I just don't want to see him be special teams either.
No, I don't think he will be. I think I'm with Jesse. I think I can see him being a wide receiver 3, possibly a 2. You can't. Sure. I think he's going to burst onto the scene. I think Terry needs help. Whether we draft a Curtis Samuel or something like that, we need that core of wide receivers. And I think Kelvin Harmon. I think he could surprise. I'm with you, Keith. I generally think he could surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, I do too. And I say that with a grain of salt, because I'm not going to say that I'm a college guru and I know.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah. I haven't got. I've said on many podcasts. I after the first round of the draft, I'm screwed because our coverage of college football in the UK is terrible. We get one channel, and I don't watch college football really. I've got into it slowly last season, but I rely on the likes of like Jesse and the likes of you guys over in the States. Sure. To give me content for my podcast, because I'm like, I have no clue who these guys are coming out of college, because our content in the UK, we don't have it. So I learned. So if you guys talk about a person on your podcast, I think I've like the Burgundy Zone have done it. HTWR have done it. You guys, I've heard you guys on Twitter go backwards and forwards. I immediately jump on YouTube and I start watching. Manny's brilliant at it. Manny Jakuba from the Back Row Skins. Yeah. He puts up a lot of film content. Carl does film breakdowns. So I learned so much from you guys. So for these guys coming out of college, I'm like you, Keith. I'm not a draft. I watched the draft with great interest.
Sure.
When you get into the later rounds, I'm like, you could be drafting the postman for it. I haven't got a clue who this guy is.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and two, it's like, I could go back and watch film, but, I'm not going to pretend that I understand, the explosiveness, what certain folks are looking for, especially like if you're looking at wide receivers, like, what are you truly looking for? You're looking for, the explosiveness off the snap. You're looking for the route running. Like I get the basic concepts of it, but I'm no one to judge if this person's going to be legit or not. I'm a true believer that whatever their talents are in, they're going to have to fit with the system that, is going on. And that's why you don't see a lot of success. That's why it's so hard for folks to even get in the NFL and be successful, because they get in and then they go to a team. And if your position coaches, I feel, are not tailoring to your skill set of what you were good at, what got you to where you're at, and you're not utilizing that on, an NFL game field, that you're just going to be an average player, unless you have some crazy talents that's going to, overcome that. So I'll never sit here and pretend to be an expert, man. I don't know the first thing. I just want you to catch the ball. Like if you're a wide receiver, I'd just be fast, run good routes, and catch. That's all I ask. But
that's where it comes back. I mean, I know we've kind of mentioned it, and we're not going to get too much into it, but that's where it will come back to it. Say a Cam Newton come into this team. Ron Rivera is going to want someone that he knows can bring on. He knows the system, so he's going to want to know when he can go to a Terry McLaurin or a Kelvin Harmon. He's going to tell them when to come out of these routes, when the ball's coming, when you get to here, or the ball's coming. He's going to know that system. Obviously, not going to go back into the quarterback debate, but I think Ron Rivera is going to lean on people that he knows. And I think a Cam Newton or someone like that knows this system And if you brought, I'm not getting into the argument, but if you brought a Cam Newton in, he's going to elevate our wide receiver core to the next level because he already knows the system. He's going to go up to a Kelvin Harmon. He's going to go, right, I'm going to give you this look or that look. When I give you this look, you're going to be there. When I give you this pre-snap, you're going to be there. He's going to know all these kind of things. Whereas a Taylor Heineke or a car, or you brought in someone from the draft, they're not going to know this system. And I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to get into an argument about Cam Newton, but I just think someone like that is going to, my whole argument with you, Keith, was someone like that is going to know the system, and it's only going to, even if it's for one season, it's going to elevate our wide receiver and our offensive line of the ball more.
Okay.
I see your point to a degree and stuff, especially now in times this year and this upcoming year, it's still unknown what's going to happen in the off season. Are they going to be doing OTAs? They've already, the combine's already gone. We don't know what the off-season program is going to look like. And I don't think it matters which quarterback you come in. And without that work, it's going to be tough for any quarterback in skill positions to be on the same page, as early as you normally would be. To your point, I mean, my feelings, I don't think Cam Newton's the proper quarterback to be in, but you do have a point in that sense that would help out.
Wise, yeah.
And be in that aspect because he knows the offense and that would just be a plus. But
so Jesse,
go ahead.
Going back to your the original question, right?
Dream off season.
Yeah, well, let's forget about second rounds and on. Okay, let's stick to first round. 19 picks.
I want free agents. Who do you want to bring in here? Okay, and what would be a dream first round pick based on our wants and needs?
I think a linebacker. I'd go for a linebacker personally.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So Jesse, your ideal situation is at 19. Well, one, how are we at 9? What are you doing at 19? And how are we addressing the quarterback situation?
Okay. The quarterback situation, I don't even want to get into right now because that's so unknown. Who knows? I mean, they could be trying to trade up for a Trey Lance, for a Justin Fields. We all know that at least reports are saying they really like Justin Fields. Who knows? But if we keep that pick 19, I want to shore up this defense. I want Xavier Collins out of Tulsa. We need that linebacker, or we need that Luke Kuechly. We need that Ray Lewis heading up that linebacker. I want to cut every other linebacker we have and start from scratch except for Cole Hall. But to be honest with you, KPL, he has some nice moments, but he has some bad moments as well too. John Bostic, sorry. I mean, he could be a backup, but he's definitely not starter material. We need to shore up that defense. Our run defense stunk all year long, right. And it's that linebacker core that we need to have. That's why we need to draft Xavier Collins. He has ball skills. He has coverage skills. He can rush the passer. He can get sideline to sideline. Pick up a Levante David or a KJ Wright. Along with Cole Holcomb, our linebacking core would be set. Perfect. We signed Corey Davis. We signed Curtis Samuel. I know everybody's clamoring for Allen Robinson.
I don't think you can afford those two, though.
Why not?
Both wide receivers?
Both wide receivers. If people want Allen Robinson, for him to come here with our quarterback situation, he's going to
get tagged.
If he doesn't get tagged, just hear my point.
Okay.
It's going to cost for him to come here. We've always had to overpay skill players. Okay. And for a player like that to come here, we're going to have to overpay him too. His price tag to a decent quarterback situation is going to be $20 million. We're probably going to have to pay 21 or 22 to bring someone like that in. Okay. Corey Davis is going to cost you about $14 million. All right. Curtis Samuel is going to cost you $11 million. That's $25 million, $26 million tops for two players of dire need, a wide receiver 2 and a slot receiver. That's a few more $1 million a year.
And where are you putting Kelvin Harmon?
He's our wide receiver 3.
But now we're adding. But you've just added two receivers plus Harmon plus McLaurin. We've got 4, right? Ideally, you want 4 wide receivers.
You need 6 wide receivers.
I know. I just don't think you can afford it.
Man.
And still be able to address the other needs.
You can't be scared without Alex Smith.
But who's throwing to him?
That's the
It all comes back to that. That's the issue.
That's
right.
The issue.
We don't want to keep harping on about it, but I said this on a few podcasts. How do you attract people to Washington? If you're a not a stud wide receiver, that's probably the wrong word, but if you are a caliber of wide receiver, the first question you're going to ask is, who's throwing me the ball?
Yeah, it's not. We're not a desired destination.
Exactly.
So I'm not trashing your wants, your needs. I mean, I would love to have it. I just don't think that that's possible. To get into with me, I mean, I've tossed around, different theories on what I think could happen. If we're speaking on free agency, I think we need to address the quarterback situation immediately, because free agents, I don't feel are going. First of all, I think we need to dial back a little bit on thinking that all these free agents are going to even want to come here in the first place, even though we should have a good setting.
We're not going to get big free agents. We're not going to get, especially receivers.
We have a good
chance getting someone on defense because everybody knows we've
got to start defense.
We have the starting of a really good defense.
I'm not even sure, period. I mean, we have to be real careful because this team is still under a lot of scrutiny with the office situation of what's going on with Snyder, but I don't want to get into that. But, it's not a 7-9 record, guys, isn't desirable. We got into the playoffs with a lot of luck, right? Sure. And that's Absolutely. Not to drag the team. So you have to have a quarterback to where these receivers or one big name receiver is going to even think about are they going to be a good fit? So with that being said, 19, I hate to say this, but the contracts situation that we are in, I still think we're in the market for a bridge quarterback. If we swung on Stafford, people can stop thinking about Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson. That's not happening. Okay. So then let's take a look at what the availability is without getting into it. I kind of tend to have to swing my argument with Andy in the sense of we all have our opinions on how we feel about, Cam Newton, but at the end of the day, he does know the system. At the end of the day, no matter who we're going to bring in at the quarterback position, if we do, they're going to be a bridge quarterback, right?
Sure, absolutely.
So with that, it doesn't hurt to bring Cam Newton in and hope that his time with New England was just many different issues other than his age and he can't throw the football anymore or he can't be consistent. So you hope in that sense that that's the case, right? And then you take your 19, you trade up and you get yourself a Trey Lance. If you're going to get a Cam Newton, tier 2-3 quarterback, right, under a small contract for 1 to 2 years, you better have a backup plan, right? And Trey Lance, Fields, those types of guys, you're going to have to give something up to go get that. And so I think the hard thing for all of us when we're discussing this is they're not telling you what they're in need of or what they're looking for. And so we're just guessing. Mm-hmm. Now, that's how it is. And I'm no offense, but if we go in with Taylor Heineke, we're in trouble, fellas. We're in trouble in the sense of we're not growing any rookie quarterback for anything. And I personally, when you draft a QB, I don't want them starting right away. I feel like they come out in the end worse.
1,000% agree with you.
Than sitting for at least a year to 2, right? This might be a stretch and a bad example because we're talking about someone who had talents. But when Aaron Rodgers was drafted, a lot of us really didn't know who that guy was, right? And He sat behind Brett Favre for 3 years before he got the starting gig. Now, I'm not saying that the QB we draft is going to be an Aaron Rodgers because he sits for 3 years.
There are QB quarterbacks later on in the draft that have
been proven. Russell Wilson,
Kellen Mond, I love Kellen Mond. I would love to get him in the 3rd round, have him sit for a year or two. I think he would be a perfect quarterback to sit. He has all the tools.
Who does he sit behind?
That's the question. I bring in a free agent. If you have to bring in Cam, you have to bring in Cam. Bring in Fitzpatrick. Bring in somebody where he can sit behind. I've been saying all along since the beginning of the all season, we might not get our quarterback this year.
I don't think we're in no man. Though. I don't think you're learning from a Fitzpatrick. You're not learning from a Mariota because they're terrible, right? They're veterans. Success.
They're veterans.
But I'm a veteran in my job. Doesn't mean I'm good at it. It just means that I've faked enough to keep on working. They keep on paying.
They're not only learning behind them, they're learning behind Zampese. He's a great quarterback coach.
Yeah, but I think you're going to get more out of Cam Newton because he is a Pro Bowler. He has been to the Super
Cam
Bowl.
Newton's a me first person.
I love the fact I've come on this podcast and now keep saying I think you get a lot more out of a Cam Newton. It's changing already, fellas.
Yeah, I don't like it. I'm not liking this.
Yeah,
Marie, y'all are going to gang up on me.
Listen, because I'm
popping champagne.
I'm flip-flopping the situation because I think that if your plan at 19 is to trade up to get a quarterback, then I would prefer to have Cam Newton out of any of the other quarterbacks that are supposedly on the market.
Yeah. If we're trading up, the only quarterback I would want to trade up for is probably Justin Fields. I think Lance
can run Scott Turner's system though.
I think they both can. Yeah. Okay. I worry about his lack of experience.
Okay, and that's fair. And the teams that he's played in college, I get it.
Yeah, and he's only started for 1 year, even though it was a great year. Don't get me wrong. I think he could have the tools to be an NFL quarterback. I would rather go with better odds to have. I don't believe in the helmet that you wear. I don't care what helmet that you wear. A lot of people talk shit on OSU quarterbacks, on Ohio State quarterbacks. That doesn't bother me whatsoever. I like what I see from Fields. If we were to trade up, I would want it to be for Fields or a Wilson, but Wilson's probably going in the top 3, so that's pretty much impossible.
Yeah, that's a fair enough take.
I would probably rather just go with it with a stud linebacker at 19, pick up a Kellen Mond in round 3 and develop him, because Kellen Mond has all the tools. I've watched him for the past couple of years, and I think him sitting for a year will do him wonders. He can run the ball. He's got a Dak Prescott like mentality. Okay. He can throw the ball. He can. He's a very smart kid as well too. And that right there, I got kind of like a man crush on him in the later rounds. See what I mean? He's not that round 1 type quarterback.
And there's nothing in Andy, I don't know if you'll agree with this either. I don't know if there's anything wrong with wanting a QB in the later round. I mean, we've known that good quarterbacks come out of those.
They have.
Out of those. We're just, our mindset.
Tom Brady.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson, yeah.
We think that you've got to come out of the first round.
No,
and
you don't.
I think two people get caught up on that way too much.
100% correct. I mean, we absolutely do. And actually, if anything, we should know better that, just because you come second pick, first round doesn't mean you're going to be our franchise quarterback.
It happens we have it over here with soccer. We pull people from what we have, our non-league system now, where semi-professionals don't get paid. Some of them are now playing in the Premier League. They're playing for England. They're playing for our national team. People get caught up on the first round of the draft. You can look at Russell Wilson. Tom Brady is the perfect example. If you ever want to say to anyone, we've all seen his draft day picture and what he looked like, and everyone thought this geezer doesn't look like it. Now he's the GOAT. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like you can't get caught up on this. All you need is good coaching, someone to know your system, someone that's coachable, and you can pull someone out of the third round. It doesn't matter as long as they.
How many years would have been off of Tom Brady's career if Drew Bledsoe didn't get hurt?
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a lot of these athletes, when they're coming in, that's their thought process.
They want to hurry up and start and get on with it.
Sure, because their career's cut short. I mean, if Bledsoe never got hurt, how many Super Bowls is taken away from Tom?
Yes, true. That's a good point. Yeah, very good point.
Yeah, it all comes back to quarterbacks, man.
That's the problem. We don't want to hop on about it, but
I've
said to people for a couple of weeks now, you have to sell Washington to these people that want to come here. No one's going to want to come here if they don't know who's throwing them the ball. They're not going to want to end up in Washington if they see a Kyle. And no disrespect, but if Kyle Allen's our starter, we're fucked. We're not making the playoffs. We're not making the playoffs. We're not making the playoffs.
The only way that we potentially get someone in is if guys like Chase Young, Terry McLaurin, if it's being told that Taylor Heineke is going to be the QB1, or not even being told that he's QB1, but if you continue to get the hype from those players, pushing, Heineke, but that might be a little bit too late. They're not going to
I think after the Stafford going after Stafford, it kind of put the kibosh on pumping up Taylor Heineke.
Sure.
Yeah. And a lot of people also are saying, it's going to be great going up against these teams next season. Our schedule is brutal.
Oh, it's brutal.
It is.
I've sat on our podcast and it's going to be, I want to see the Washington team compete. I don't care about these teams. Guys, let's be honest here. Kansas City, Tampa Bay, Seattle.
I've been trying
our
to
schedule is brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's the problem with being successful last year in the sense of being 7-9, but going to the playoffs, right? And that was the thing that I was afraid of was we're a team that got lucky based upon so many different variables last season, right? Now we're playing, playoff competitive teams in the following season. We're in trouble if we
every week we're playing these guys as well.
And look, I've been preaching this since the end of the season. If we're going into next year with a Heineke or an Allen or pretty much any free agent, don't expect to get 10 wins. Okay. No. And we need to be prepared for that. I'm prepared for that. I'm okay with a 6-10, 7-9 season. I'm okay with that because you know why? Because we're going to get a higher draft pick if we don't get our quarterback and be able to have a better opportunity to get that quarterback next year. And people need to be prepared for that. Okay. We really do. Our schedule is brutal, and do not hate if it doesn't go in a favorable direction next year. Okay.
Right. Well, Andy, let me, and I mean, that's a great point. And I feel the same way. And I'm thinking, how is the fan base going to take it if we go 7-9 again, or 6-10, if we go backwards, or even if it's 8-8 and we don't make the playoffs? Like, how are we going, to look at this? It's going to be tough. It's the same thing back when we were 9-7 with Kirk Cousins getting into the playoffs, and then getting thumped out immediately by, the Packers. And then the next following year, it was just not getting the same success. So that's the part that worries me, because we're in a relationship with Ron Rivera right now. We love him, right? Great story, good coach, but it's not going to take long if we're not sustaining success for people to start turning. And that's what I'm afraid of.
We got to preach patience. And,
that's where it comes
people like us that have mouthpieces now, we should be okay saying that, just calm down. This is going to be a process. We didn't get our Matt Stafford this year. Okay. We didn't. And it's likely we're not going to. So let's let them build from within. We'll get our quarterback. I have faith that Ron's going to get us our quarterback. I honestly do. Yeah. It just might not be this year.
That's true. Andy, let me ask you this, because I know that you are on the Cam Newton, and I know that we said we wouldn't get into this, but honestly, guys, it's a topic. Like, it's a topic to be discussed. But Andy, JP Finley, now let me say this. without giving too much information. And I know people that they listen to this, they're going to be like, this guy's full of shit. Okay. I tweeted out several weeks that it was an indirect chirp that Cam Newton was not, I don't want to say that he was not going to come to the team. I just want to say what I tweeted is that there are folks that feel he is done with his career, okay, without being disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
And then weeks later, JP Finley comes out, says that he had a source saying that we didn't, acquire Cam Newton in 2020, and chances are super high that that's not happening in 2021 either. So that pretty much aligns with, and JP doesn't break news. And I've read everyone trashing what he was saying because no one wants to believe it. People that support Cam, they don't want to believe that, right?
Yep.
What's your thought? What's your process on JP, tweeting that, saying that it's coming from a source?
I take it with a pinch of salt. In any sport that I hear this, a source here, a source there. At the end of the day, we're in the off season now. These people need to make headlines. They need to get people listening to podcasts. They need to, I'm very much, and I'm like that with our soccer over here. I hear, a source said something's happening in my team, Tottenham Hotspurs. This is happening. A source said, I take it with a pinch of salt, you know what I mean? And like I said at the start of the show, I heard JP mention, well, why didn't he take Haskins last year? Because he didn't want to piss off Dan Snyder. That's the simple answer. Yeah. He's just started in a job. He's not going to bring in his own man. And I like JP. I respect him a lot. I'm hoping to speak to him on our podcast. We've had Pete and all the guys on the show. I personally just think it's throwing a little bit of shade over something, but I'd be more than happy with Cam Newton as our quarterback. I think he could be the bridge, and like Jesse said earlier, someone could sit behind him for a season. What you've got with Cam is a guy that's he's pissed off. B, he does not want to go out like he went out in New England. And I know there's a lot of people that are going to be listening to this podcast going, "Oh, Andy, you're talking shit." He's a pissed off guy. He's not. That season in New England was terrible. But he was, I think, I can't remember, it was someone tweeted me saying, well, he was throwing to the Patriots B team. He didn't have many weapons to throw to. He thought through COVID, no OTAs, no minicamp, no preseason. Here's the playbook, run with it. Mm-hmm. And as good as Cam Newton, as good as these elite guys are in the NFL, these quarterbacks, and I was fortunate enough to meet Kirk Cousin at an NFL UK event, and he just went through what they have to process in their minds. I couldn't learn one play. And, the fact that Cam went into New England and tried his best to learn this playbook for what he was going through. And I'm not making excuses. I just think he is one pissed off dude. And I've said this many times. You listen to every interview that Ron Rivera has done about him. He speaks of him like a son. I done this with Cam. When I had Cam Newton in Carolina, we done this. Cam Newton, it's his go-to. It's his go-to. He worships the ground this man walks on. I personally think that Ron will get one more tune out of him if he did come to Washington. And to what Jesse said earlier, if we have a quarterback from a draft sit behind him for one season, because I'm with Jesse. I don't think and I was going to make this point, as much as I'm a rah-rah fan, as Keith says, I kind of have to flip it now for next season and listen to people like Keith, because with our schedule, my rawness is going to be, it could go out the window, because as much as I want us to compete, and I'm the biggest Washington fan, I'm with you guys. I love this team more than anything. I want us to win every game. Yeah. I kind of now have to rail my rah-rah.
Be realistic.
Kansas City, Tampa Bay, Seattle, we're playing all these teams. I have to listen to people like Keith, and as much as he gets bashed, you're like, do you know what? This wanker's got a point. But to the JP thing and the source, I take it with a pinch of salt. I mean, we pretty much know who is in that team. Who are these sources? Where's it coming from?
Sure.
Things get leaked. It's Washington. Things get leaked to the press. Ridiculously. We've heard all these scandals that have come out. We hear about the poor cheerleader thing, and everything. No one leaks anything for nothing. They want it to be leaked.
I'm with you know, if we do,
Sorry, if you guys heard that, that was my 90-pound dog that
they just
can't
rip
stay
one.
still. Oh no, he just ran through, like barreling through the dining room table.
My dog's been bouncing at the door for the entire podcast.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. I hope that you're right, Andy. If we do wind up getting Newton, and I would trust Ron. If Ron thinks Cam is healthy, then I'm for it. That's the big issue right there. And Ron has stated that don't count out a healthy Cam Newton, but that's the big question: is he healthy?
You and I'll admit that. Is he healthy?
Is he healthy? Because it just the past few years, it just
maybe his shoulder was why he couldn't throw. Maybe his shoulder injury was he was inaccurate. Listen, Andy has changed my mind on Cam Newton. I've read a lot of things that he's talked about. I know it pains me to say it.
Hello. Maurice, listen, Maurice, are you listening?
Listen, I'm not advocating for Cam Newton. I just don't think it's horrendous. I almost would rather have Newton come here than Mariota. I would rather.
I'd rather you at QB than Mariota.
Right.
Too much hate for Mariota, man. I mean, I'm not in love with the idea either. You know,
he's terrible.
We're just at the bottom of the line right here. We're at the bottom of the bucket. You know, we're fishing shit out that needs to stay in the bucket. But
I think though, if we're gonna fish, right, and I think though, if we're gonna fish, let's catch something that makes sense. And the points that Andy has been making, not only on the show, but making, you know, on his Twitter when he's been advocating for Cam Newton, they make sense. I don't know if they'll all come true.
Absolutely, 100%. They make sense. I just from what I see, I just don't see it. I just don't see him being healthy. And he's played. As a quarterback, Cam Newton has been one of my favorite players to watch through these years. He has been so fun, so energetic. He's played so hard, but that shit has taken a toll.
Yeah,
I
hear you.
Listen, it's that your body just can't keep getting hit by trucks on a game by game basis, and that's why most running backs, they don't last that long. And Cam has been not only a quarterback but a running back in a sense too. You know.
Yeah, I do feel like Ron is building a team similar to the Panthers. If you look at, you know, what's coming in and he has that same mindset. So I guess the only thing I can say to that is, you know, wish us all the best of luck, man. It's going to get definitely very interesting once free agency starts hitting up. What we're not going to see on Twitter, which I think is going to suck, is I love the whole everyone with their sources. You know, I think that game's going to be dumbed down a little bit because these guys aren't traveling. You know, no one knows they're
coming back. Actually,
I don't know, because if you're trying to pull in a big namer, you're going to want to bring them in, sit down, and talk to them face to face. There's no question about that. And a lot of these sources that these people have are just people who are literally stalking the airlines, trying to know, where is this guy going? Where is his flight booked? You know, and that type of stuff. I think now that we have it the way that it is, it's going to be a lot difficult. But however, I'm sure there's still going to be folks out there that's going to, you know, make this a little bit interesting, and it's going to get wild this free agency for sure. But Jesse, Andy, if you guys don't mind, I want to switch it up.
Sure.
Since Andy was gracious enough to come on the show, and I think it's 12:30 a.m. your time, sir.
I'm in the future, as I always say. It's Sunday for me now, guys.
So I want to take a few minutes, Jesse. I don't think you'll mind. Andy, you know, first of all, as I gave you a love session in the beginning of this pod, you know, since you've started, man, and this year, I don't know what's happened in the pod industry, but I'm seeing a lot of folks that were untouchable that are actually very touchable now, and they're hopping in on podcasts. Share your experience with, not necessarily how you're getting guests or anything like that. That's, you know, no one's business, but the fact that share your experience of really, for the first time, having access to these guys that we really haven't been able to talk to in the past, and what it's like for you as a podcaster, when interviewing these guys. I imagine, especially like when you're on with a guy of the likes of Fred Smoot, which that was an amazing show, by the way. If no one has listened to Andy, please definitely go and listen to the DC Tweet Team podcast and listen to that Fred Smoot show.
Because start with that show. It was a great show.
If you don't find that enjoyable, then you're absolutely insane. So what was your experience like, having that type of interview with him and, kind of starting this podcasting and were you nervous talking to Smoot?
Yeah, I was nervous. I'm kind of getting used to it now, but this time last year, I wasn't doing a podcast. We started in May. 2020. Maurice just said I was fortunate enough to speak to the guys at the Burgundy Zone, and I've always said that them guys got me into podcasting. Carl, Reed and Hall got me into podcasting. I didn't know you guys a year ago. I was nervous interviewing Fred. I think like Al Gordy was on my show a couple of days ago. He said podcasting seems to be the new media, the new way that we all get our content. I mean, Al made the point of no one really watches live TV anymore apart from sports. People listen to podcasts. I mean, I listen to, so for instance, for me, I listen when I'm driving, when I'm out, I'm having a run. I said to Jesse last week, you guys, your last show, I went out for a run and I had you in my ears as I was going. So it seems to be the new norm with podcasting, and Washington are very lucky that we've got a lot of podcasters who offer different things. I think it's great that you two have started this podcast. I mean, we all love, and like you say, while we're kind of doing a love fest, I know you take a lot of shit on Twitter, but you genuinely are a nice guy. But I want to hear your views and opinions. Like I am a rah fan. I think we could win every bloody game, But then I hear people like yourself and Jesse on your show, and you do bring me, as much as I've convinced you about Cam Newton, you calm my rah on us. But to get back to your point, I mean, I've interviewed Julie Donaldson, Fred Smoot, Kelvin Harmon, Doc Walker, Ken Harvey. We've been so lucky, and then these people, I just, I get in contact with them. I'm like, hey, do you want to come and jump on the pod? And it does. I'm not going to just say it because it helps that I'm English. They're like, you're doing a Washington podcast. What? From where? And I'm like,
we got to start working on our accents. Maybe we can get some
throw out some English. But
hello, would you like to join my podcast?
English, not Indian.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I'm all the way from India. Would you like to join my podcast and talk Washington football teamers? Go footballers!
You sound like Siri now. But I am. I at the start. Accent, by the way. At the start, I did get. I remember. I think I've told this story. Julie Donaldson texted me late at night. It was like 11:30, nearly midnight for me. She's like, "Hey Andy, I've got half an hour if you're ready." And I'm like, I'm in bed, but yes.
Screw that. Hell yeah, I'm ready.
I jumped out of bed. I grabbed my pad, and I remember saying to my wife, I was like, I'm about to interview Julie Donaldson. She didn't have a clue she was. And I'm like, this is big. This woman messages you saying, I'm here for an interview. You don't say no. Shot out of bed at like midnight. I turned on my laptop and we done an interview. So, I mean, Keith, I absolutely love this. And, Washington are very lucky that they've got such good content. And like I just said to you, for the amount of shit that you take on social media and, to hear from people like yourself is brilliant. I love what you guys do, what you and Jesse have now joined the podcast party. There's so many of us.
We've done it because of you guys, to be honest with you.
But we want you give that element. I know for a fact that I'm going to tune into your show and not hear rah. I'm going to hear you say, look, if the team suck, you're going to tell me. If the fans suck, you're going to tell me. If one division sucks, you're going to tell me. But I tune in for that kind of thing. So for me, from the DC Tweet Team podcast, from what we do, I get a lot of my content from listening to you guys on social media. I spoke about you for 10 minutes on my last podcast, Keith.
Crazy.
I get content from you guys, and I think it's the world we live in now with podcasting. Al even mentioned it. Even on radio, he doesn't get to be himself. If you listen to the last DC Tweet Team podcast, Al said he's Al said, look, he can say what the fuck he likes on his podcast.
Yeah.
You can cuss, you can do whatever. I mean, us guys have been talking for an hour. You couldn't do that on the radio. You'd have someone in your ear, right? You need to do this, this, and this. This is the new world we live in. And I can't tell you how thankful I am for. I've said this many times. The podcast is not only lets me talk about football. I have made so many friends because of the podcast. You know, I sit and chat to you guys on Zoom. I can't wait to be in a bar in September, just chewing the fat with you guys, drinking shots, doing beers, talking football, just talking normal guy stuff, but doing it in person. And that's what podcasting's given me. And it's taken me places that I could never dream of.
Well, the funny thing is I was, and first things first too, speaking, shout out to Kyle Ronick. All
right. Become a dad.
Became a dad. And
congratulations, man.
Congratulations, buddy.
The reason why I'm bringing that up was because yesterday, I had just asked him a quick mic question on the connection process and testing the sound. This guy was like right there to help me out, right? Mm-hmm. He's having a baby today. Like, if that would have been me, I would have been like, bro, like, I don't even know if my wife's gonna make it right now. We might be running to the hospital. I don't have time to talk to you about your mic, but he was there, and so it was like you guys really they put the work in and kind of to pioneered the process. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of other folks out there that are doing, podcasts too. So I don't want to leave them out. I'm just going to stick to what I know and who I've talked to. It's like they created the interest to have this, done. I did it a year ago and I used an old platform that I think just didn't work. Right. And not being able to put out content fast enough like everyone else is, but it's hard work, and you guys have been putting in the hard work. And then here comes guys like, Jesse and myself that are like, yeah, man, we've always wanted to do this. We just didn't know where to begin and start. You guys, it was like a domino effect. All these guys started them, and then you're just, we listen to you guys. And then again, content. I don't want to say that, we're stealing content or anything like that, but the more shows that you listen to, it gives you ideas of people's thought process
and what people are talking about, what like topics.
That's why I started being a fan. I started being a fan because I wanted to something separate. It was an idea that I wanted to speak to Redskins fans, quote unquote, about the good old days. So we're dropping a show tomorrow with Hogwarma Chris. I sat down with him on Wednesday this week. We recorded. I learned all about his fandom and we chewed the fat. He's a good guy. I'm dropping that show tomorrow. It's being Sunday. And, that's why I've done that kind of thing. And, it's just something different.
Yeah. Well, also too, like learning, Chase Rouillet's dad, he's like, hey, you guys should, start thinking about talking about the offensive line, and that, because it's not a sexy topic, but it's something that none of us get into.
It's coming. It's coming.
If you can't protect that guy throwing the ball, you're fucked.
Right. I'd love to have, his dad come on, Robbie Duncan come on.
That'd be a great episode.
Those guys, those guys are definitely pioneers into a conversation that I'm sure a lot of us don't understand, so that's kind of, how we're looking at everything. So, first things first, congratulations. I know these global awards were not exactly, and I'm not going to get into the negative side of it. What I'm hoping for is that the team does see, and Jesse, I talked about this actually in the last episode. I think we're fine if we just leave out that one category. Okay. The one that created all this controversy and, anger and, pissed off and this and that, because I think at the end of the day, we're all big fans. Okay. And it's really tough to single out, and there are some people that cannot handle it like adults. Okay.
We didn't ask to be nominated. That was
That's right.
I didn't ask to be in the final four.
Sure, you guys never advocated it.
I didn't even know. Someone messaged me saying, Andy, have you seen you've made the final four? Because I thought once that original thing went up and people voted, I thought that was it. There was going to be an announcement on Twitter. I got a text message saying, Andy, you're in the final four for the best fan pod. I was like, shut up.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool.
And I was like, awesome. I will take that. And I've said this 2 or 3 times since the awards. The NFL and American football is your game in America. I'm an English dude talking about American football.
But that's the thing,
just
though.
to be alongside the Burgundy Zone, the Big Douglas Zone, and HTR. That was enough for me.
That's the thing.
Brilliant.
You're spreading the word to not only us, your fandom to us over here in the States, but you got a lot of people over in the UK that are listening to you.
Oh, huge. I mean,
it's I didn't realize how big, the NFL was over in the UK until I started listening to your show.
Humongous.
And some of the
traveling.
guests that you bring on,
Yeah. Traveling for me, when I went to New Orleans, there was a lot of folks from a couple years ago when I went to New Orleans. There were a lot of folks from the UK. The hotel that I was staying in, there was fans from Germany. It's unreal. And once we can get out of our bubble and understand that, first of all, in the UK, I mean, I'm assuming that soccer is the predominant sport, obviously.
Yep.
So for fans to, take a look into American football, because we know, soccer, that's the real football, right?
Correct.
Now we're talking American football, and, fans are becoming more interested, in this sport. Obviously we all think, that it's super amazing.
It's huge. I can't tell you how big what I got asked this on the Redskins Addicts about being at the international games. When I went to the Redskins Bengals at Wembley, I go to all the games over here in the UK pretty much. I think I've missed one. Redskins fans took over that stadium.
Right.
It was like a home game. It was better. I've been to FedEx when I was at Wembley watching the Redskins, atmosphere wise, not my experience, because I was tearing up standing on the field at FedEx because I'd seen it on the TV every week, and now I'm standing there. But atmosphere wise, Wembley Stadium, and you can ask Kelly, Crystal, any of the guys from my good friends from the DC Tweet Team, atmosphere was amazing. It was like being at a soccer game.
That's awesome.
It was unreal. I was so emotional, and I was watching all my American friends. What was good for me, being as an English guy, I was surrounded by my good buddies that I'd known for years. We're all sitting in a stadium, and I'm seeing them go, wow. And they go to FedEx every week, and they were like, this is incredible.
Yeah,
right.
we hopefully we will get that atmosphere again. I remember when I was a kid going to RFK.
Jesse, I need to get you on. Jesse, me and you are going to do being a fan. I need to hear all about this.
Yeah, that atmosphere was unlike any other. Just remembering. I mean, that was such a long time ago. But FedEx Field has never been like that, and I'm hoping this go around we're going to do it right and to be able to get that atmosphere back. Because
I think you start with your team president who's hired, and hey, if people want to give me shit for continuing to talk about him just because, he
doesn't get talked about enough. Okay. For what he's done.
That man is an absolute hero.
Listen, they took, these global awards, I think were a good thing in the sense, but, I think that, again, take that one category aside. You take all the other categories. I'm glad the people that got nominated. I'm glad that there was some recognition for the hard work for the winners. Congrats to Burgundy Zone. Congrats to, the other guys, that won. I didn't pay too much attention, to that aspect of it, but it was a good thing. And I do hope that moving forward that they still do these types of awards, right, for recognition to people who deserve it. And that's really, what I'll say on that. I don't want the negative experience that happened to be a factor as to why they don't pull fans closer together, because there is more of a positive than there is a negative, and, I definitely want to advocate that. And I want to say that I think that ultimately overall as the fan experience with Jason Wright under helm, there's no question in my mind that we're going into the right direction. This man, just by some of the things that him and Julie Donaldson and all of them have done so far just this year, in the sense, right, after I got over my temper tantrum about the name change, because of how effective he is within his role and what they've been doing, hopping on podcasts, talking with us fans, us people where we felt like we were nothing a couple years ago, that we were just, money givers. They're actually taking the times out of their day to, come on these podcasts and, do these types of things. And I think that creating this type of environment is going to make the fans, especially for someone like Andy, who's across the pond, even though he's so far away, it's still going to make him feel a part of something. And when you can make someone from across the pond feel the way that they feel like they're close to the team by these types of awards, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I was truly just humbled and honored just to be nominated. And like going back to Jason Wright, I mean, me and him, I was chatting to him the other day, just on a DM. We're talking about, he's a big Liverpool fan, big soccer guy.
Yeah.
My wife's like, "What are you laughing at?" I'm like, "I'm literally having banter with the president of the Washington football team about soccer. No, we weren't talking football. We were just being two guys talking soccer. I was giving him shit for his team being crap. He was giving me shit for my team being crap. And I was like, you would never have done this 2 years ago with Washington." And the fact that he took time out of his day to message me and give me shit about my team being shit, I was just like, this is brilliant. This is amazing. I love this guy. He's just awesome. He's just a cool dude. And, he's taking our team in the right direction.
Just being accessible. It means so much. And that goes for Julie Donaldson too. She's doing great things in the media aspect of it. Them being accessible gives us, how did I put this? It gives us more of an attachment to the team, because they make you feel more a part of it.
Yeah. 100%. Like Keith said, I'm thousands of miles away from you guys. I feel like I'm in Washington because these people are like, yep, I'll come on your podcast, no problem.
Sure.
I'll chat to you. I get invited to do things like this with you guys. I get to go on Redskins Addicts, Burgundy Zone, because I'm here, but I still feel so part of this community. And like I say, when there's about 10 of us coming over in September, us guys are going to have the best weekend ever.
I've already told Kyle that I'm there. I mean, I'm only a couple hours away. So
we are going to have,
it's
going to be the best weekend.
Definitely. I can't let that opportunity pass. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that, again, this all results back to the culture change. And it's not just the football team culture change, it's the fan culture change.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, I mean, I can't discuss the DMs that I've had with Jason. It's not been soccer banter, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But, Super Bowl, I made a joke and he got in and, was joking with me. And, I've learned, like, you talk to the man like he's just one of us.
Just a human. He's a dude. He's a normal guy.
He puts his pants on the same way. He just has a dope ass job. That's the way I see it. And, that's the way that I'm going to continue to look at it. What I'm hoping for is all this negativity that happened yesterday and the day before doesn't stop people like Julie or the team or Jason wanting to, potentially, come on our show. And that's, why I did bring up, the global awards, because it rehashed a lot of things that had happened, with me in the past. And I'm not going to get into it on any of the details because it's not necessary. But at the end of the day, when I feel someone is not a good person, I'm going to let them know. The downfall that I have is that because I'm notated as a troll, which is fine, I'm fine with that, but the negative side, there is a negative side to that. And I'm currently dealing with that, negative side. And I'm not sure what the thought, I am sure what the thoughts are, because I did get a message that I was happy about that I did not advocate with this whole situation. But the thing that I kept thinking was, does this hurt our podcast? Is this going to hurt the podcast? Is this going to hurt people from wanting to come on our show because, they don't truly know me and know the good side of me? A lot of people do, but do the people that I have made fun of in the past? Because I've said all day long, I get at JP Finley all the time, and everyone heard, when we were on a podcast, him flame me. I gave him that opportunity to flame me, and I was okay with that. Right. I agreed for that to happen. They were like, hey, do you want to come on? Chances are JP is going to run you down. Sure. Because again, I've learned, if you're going to give it shit to people, you better be able to eat the shit when they give it back to you.
Yeah,
and
right.
let me tell you, JP Finley fed me a spoonful of shit. And guess what? I'm okay with it. Right. Yeah. And JP, I feel, is good at his job. So I guess being what I am and the things that I do, like, I just didn't want it to hurt. I didn't want to hurt what we're trying to do here. And, for the past couple of days, it's been an absolute, nightmare on my end, where I've been 3 years silent of this situation. And then, because someone didn't win a category, everything gets rehashed, and it is what it is. But at the end of the day, like I said, I'm glad for all the folks that were, nominated and appreciated for what it is that they got, being noticed for the things that they did. And, hopefully, moving forward, I think, the team should continue to do something because in the end, what it's going to do is bring, a lot of fans closer together, because for the real legitimate people with these categories, like, so for instance, the podcast category, every single one of y'all were congratulating each other, whether you won or, didn't win. And
it started before the even,
absolutely. They
the Burgers won. Yeah.
Right. They all congratulated each other. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. That's what those awards were intended to do. So if I was going to push any podcasts, I would push this one in the sense of, hey guys, you need to listen to this because these are, the true fans. I know what you saw on Twitter was a lot of negativity in that aspect, but honestly, from logical people who understand the reasoning behind it, it's actually a different tune. And I hope that they see this, read what people are saying in the positive sense, and they continue to keep doing this, because we need people like Andy from across the pond to feel like, hey, he's not only a Washington fan, but he's over here watching this shit with us. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And that's what Jason and Julie have brought to this team so far. So I hope it continues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I mean, just I won't go into too much detail, but yeah, like Keith said, there was a lot of negativity towards me and on Twitter, and the stuff that we do, and what I'm not going to go into it too much, but yeah, I mean, I've spoke to Julie, I've spoke to Jason, and I think they appreciate that all the efforts that go in. They do I can't speak highly enough of Jason Wright, Julie Donaldson, Marcus Stevenson, all of them guys. They're absolutely incredible, and they speak volumes to a culture change in the team where it's been needed for years. And the fact that that you guys are sitting here doing a podcast, I do a podcast, Carl, so many that HTBR, there's so many that I could name. The Burgundy Network, it's just the team should be proud.
Tay and Todd
are incredible. Big Douglas, incredible. I mean, he does basketball. Big Douglas does like basketball, and I love that because I'm a big basketball and baseball fan. So I listen to all his shows.
Right,
he does every day. He's doing basketball, baseball. I love Big Doug.
Listen, him and I never talked until we started doing a podcast.
He's a dude, man.
We've interacted with each other on Twitter, and you know what I mean. And that to me is brotherhood might be a little bit strong here, but that to me is showing that the development of people and what we're all trying to do. We're all just trying to put together.
We've all got each other's backs at the end of the day. I mean,
absolutely.
Like you say, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I've taken some shit for some friends of mine. I've seen some stuff online in the last few days, and I consider Keith yourself. I consider you a good friend, Jesse. I've known you a short time, but I consider you a friend who I am looking forward to having a beer with. But when I see my friends getting bashed, I'm like, hell no, I'm not going to sit back and fucking take this. You bash my friends, you bash me. Simple. That's the way I've always been.
That's my scenario. That was my scenario and my thought process back in 2012 when I've been dealing with this problem. Was I'm not going to sit there and let someone trash someone. If I feel that they're wrong, I'm going to step in. And then it just, the whole thing became an everyday thing. And again, not to get into it, because I don't need to defend myself to anyone. I'll tell you right now, anyone who doesn't believe the situation, they can fuck off and unfollow me right now. I don't give a fuck, because at the end of the day, I'm me, right? But I'm not a bad person. Never have and never will be. I'm a good person. Just because I shit on the team for being shitty for 20 years doesn't make me a bad person.
Yeah, we've all done that.
Right. It just makes me a realist. And now I have a platform to talk about it. And then I have people who whether they agree with me or don't agree with me, they still read my shit. And if they agree with me, they're like, yeah, I agree with you. If they don't, they're like, fuck off. And I just laugh because that's the way that it
But
should.
that comes back to my point about that's why people are going to listen to you and Jesse. I know already. Yeah, I listened to your show last week. I've obviously listened to Jesse's podcast, but now you've come on board, Keith. I know that when I turn on your podcast, I'm getting real talk. I know that for an hour and a half, for an hour, whatever, how long your podcast is, it's all real, whatever you say. And I know if us fans, us rah-rahs have said anything, I know my ass is getting called out on that podcast. You'll be like, Andy, no, this is bullshit. This is wrong. And I'll be like, hey, you have to respect that opinion.
No, everybody, listen, I've always said, my dad's always told me, opinions are like assholes.
Everyone's got one.
And we have a platform to put our opinions out there, whether our opinions are right or wrong. Who fucking cares? But we have feelings about this team, and I have, that's why I started the podcast, man. I have shit to say.
Yep.
Whether people listen, that's on them. But I have stuff to say. I've been a fan since the day I was born. I was put into a Redskins onesie, and I've been bleeding the burgundy and gold ever since then.
Yeah. You guys are doing a great job. It's a great podcast.
We appreciate it. Well, y'all got anything else you want to talk about? I know it's getting late for Andy.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
This is early for me. 1 a.m. I'm usually up watching the Celtics get beat, or I'm chatting on shit on Twitter. This is early. This is early for me, boys. I've got another 3 hours yet to go and play Madden and do what I do.
There you go. I don't know, Andy. I can't hang like that. Past 9 o'clock, I'm like, I gotta go.
Yeah. 2 hours sleep's max for me. I can live on 2 hours.
Oh, man, I can't do that. Yeah, no, I wake up at 3:45 every morning for work.
My friends call me the English Yank.
Listen, I have noticed you up, my time, like 10 o'clock, and now it has to be 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning on your time.
3 a.m. Yeah, 10. Yeah. So it's now 1 a.m. for me now.
Listen, I've woke up one morning and I'll look at, I tend to like to do this too. Like I'll throw out a trash tweet because I know that people are going to attack me on it. And I'm like, I'll sleep on this one because I know that I'm going to wake up with 20 plus, in the mentions. And one thing is I see Andy and I look at the time and I count the 5 hours and I said, what the hell was that guy doing up? Go to sleep, bro. What are you doing?
I don't sleep. I'm the English Yank. All my friends are like, you are American, but you live in England.
That's crazy.
So, but no, I've got nothing else. So Andy, I definitely want to appreciate you for coming on again. Congratulations for being, nominated for those awards.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Keep up the good work, man. You've had some amazing guests. We definitely we're learning from listening to your show along with the other guys.
That means a lot. Thank you.
We're going to continue to keep listening. And again, I see some more banter back and forth that's going to come between us on some disagreements. Be proud that you kind of flipped me on the Cam Newton situation.
I'm literally going to text Maurice as soon as we're done with this.
I'm going to cuss. I'm going to cuss him out.
Jesse, I want to see a tweet. Literally, as soon as we're done, Jesse, I want to see you tweet me and Maurice. He's gonna. Maurice don't drink a lot, but I reckon he's going to have some champagne tonight.
Andy, why don't you go ahead and plug your Twitter handle and your show for our listeners that might not listen to you yet. I don't know why you wouldn't, but just in case.
Seriously.
Yeah, at Washington FC UK1 is my Twitter handle if you just want to have and come and see me bash Keith for most of the week. But DC Tweet Team Podcast Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we always drop a bonus podcast at the weekend, whether it being a fan. It's always a little short 20 minutes something I drop at the weekend. So we have 4 shows a week. You don't have to listen to them all. If you listen to one, I'm more than grateful. I'm just appreciative if one person listening to the DC Tweet Team podcast. But I'm truly honored to come on your show, guys. You are doing tremendous things. I really appreciate you too.
We appreciate you, Keith. How can the people bash you on Twitter? Go ahead and give them your handle.
Well, for the ones that listen that don't know, you can find me on KG Skins 26. I'll be that guy sending out some tweets. I'm ready for all the arguments, and if any of you got any fucking problems with me, just let me know. I enjoy it, and I'll continue to enjoy it. Because one thing you won't get from me is I might be doing a podcast from my mom's basement, but I don't take no shit either.
You can reach me at Jesse's24, JESSYS24. And if you want to come out with me with shit, fuck off, because I ain't gonna have nothing to do with you.
Send your shit to me, please.
Yeah, just send it on to Keith. Thank you for listening to the Bleeding Burgundy podcast, and we will catch you on Tuesday, where we have special guest Adam Aniba is going to come in, and we're going to talk some draft prospects and some what we're going to do in free agency. So I'm really excited about that.
Also, we got my guy Marshall Warren, who's going to be joining us. A lot of folks know him. He's very knowledgeable in the draft situation too, and he also has a little bit of beef to pick with some of the fans on our guy Mac Jones. Doesn't seem like a lot of folks are. Yeah, it doesn't seem like a lot of folks are high on him, but Marshall has a different side. So can't wait to bring these guys on and, get them on and express their opinions. So everybody, we don't got to go home, but we got to get the hell out of here.
Until next time, hail to the team.